Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mustafa Ghorbani. This is my C# series, and today we'll be starting part 3, which is logic and conditionals. Part 3 of this series will be in two parts. In 3.1 we'll go through logic operators and in general creating boolean expressions in different ways, and in the second part, which is 3.2, we'll learn about loops and switch and many more interesting things, which they are very important also. In the last lesson we talked about data types and variables and worked through an example, so if you haven't watched that video, make sure you watch it, because surely we'll use it in this video and in the future videos, and it's very important to know those basics. The link to that video will be in the description. Make sure to check it out. Now let's get started with this lesson and learn about logic and conditionals. For those of you who didn't watch the last part, we talked about data types, which one of them was boolean. In our program we usually write booleans as bool. As some of you might already know, computer programs function off of binaries like true or false, yes or no, ones and zeros, also on and off. Distinguishing between these binaries is the foundation of Boolean logic. Basically, Boolean logic says that all values are either true or false. So to get deeper in this topic, we need to also know comparison operators, which includes, let's go check the first one, which is equal, and it is written like this: two equals next to each other. It returns true if the value to the left is equal to the right. So basically, if both sides of this are equal, it returns true. Let me just keep it here for now so you can have a view of all of it together. The second comparison operator, is inequality, which returns true if both sides, left and right, aren't equal to each other, and it is written like this. The third one, which we will look at, is less than. It is written like this: returns true if the value to the left is less than to the value right. So that's that. Next we have greater than, which is the opposite of less than. As if you know a little bit math, it's not going to be hard understanding this, which returns true if the value to the left is greater than the value to the right. After this we have less than or equal. We write less than just like how we did up here on the third one, but the difference is we also add equal. This means it is less or equal. Next we have greater than or equal, which is the last one. We write it as greater than, and again add equal to the right side of it, which means it is greater or equal, as you can see. Now let me just remove this and write an example here so it will be easier to understand it and you guys can actually see it. Let's say we have two numbers. Let me just write bool. I'll explain why I'm writing it bool. Answer is equal to, we have number, let's say 3 and 75. Here we have created a variable called answer, and it's the data type for this, the type of it is bool, so it should return true or false. And next I want to see the result. Is it true or false? As you can see here in the middle here, we have used the operator less than. So here we say 3 is less than 75. As you said, it should return true if the value to the left is actually less than here. So this should basically return true. Now let's do console.write line, and we don't need this. Let's check our answer variable and check it, and as you can see the result is true, so I was right. This is one example. We can also change this. If we change this to less than, it should return false, of course. Let's check it. In general, you get my point. I'll also leave the documentation to all these comparison operators just in case you need to read them or have them. Next, we have something called logic operators, also known as boolean operators, which they can be used to create boolean expressions. What are logical operators? They are, let me just keep this here and also add these here. We had equal, we had inequality, we had less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than equal. So as I said, next we have logical operators. What are logical operators? Let me just add a note here so we can actually see all of them, just a comparison operators. So logical operators, we have here and, or, not. I'll explain you what these are right now. And, which is shown as, so let's just start with and. So let's just start with and. I'll again add a note here, and which is shown as, let's get started with the first one, and. I'll add a comment here, and, which is, let me write this here, which is shown as this, two ands, and both this expression are evaluated. Both of these expressions will evaluate. Both expressions are evaluated and will return true if both expressions evaluated true. Otherwise, it will return false. And what does that mean? That means if the left side and the right side are both true, it will return true. If even one of them is false, it's gonna return false. Let's look at an example of and. Let's say we have bool example and inside this we have 4 is bigger to 4 is bigger than 1 and 2 is smaller than or less than 7, right? And we close it like this. So here we have two expressions here. First is this one, which is true. Second is this one, which is also true, because 4 is actually bigger than 1 and 2 is actually smaller than 7 or less than 7. As I said here, if both sides of this and are true, it should return true. So just to check the answer for this, let's write it to the console. Example and check it out. It should return. Let me just comment out this so we will not get confused with the last one. It is true, as you can see here in this part of the code. We get true because both sides are true. And if we change this part and let's say put it on 1, this is false, right? 1 is not bigger than 2. It should give us false because one side of this and operator is false. So it did actually return false. Let me clean this a little bit just so we know, just so you guys don't get confused basically. I'll just write here the comparison operator so we know. And down here I'll write console.writeLine and operator. Let's check just to make sure. It's actually a little bit cleaner. Yeah, I guess now it's less confusing. Now let's move on to the next. The next operator we have is OR, as I said here. Let me again write the comment here, OR, which is shown as these two lines. If you can't find these two lines on my keyboard, this is on top of the enter, where there's a backslash or whatever it's called. You hold shift and you press that. I'm pretty sure you can find it easily. You put these two lines. This represents OR. And how does OR work? For OR, both expressions are evaluated and will return true if at least one of the expressions evaluates to true. Otherwise, it will return false. Basically, what this means is that if one on the right or left, doesn't matter, if one of these two is true, it will return true. But if none of them is true, it will return false. Let's just look at an example for these two. So bool example or equal to. Again, I'll use numbers because I think this is the best way to understand this. Let's say we have 8, which is bigger than 6, right? Or 3. I'm missing a parenthesis here. So let's say we have a number here. Let's say 8 is bigger than 6. True, right? Or 3 is bigger than 6. And then we close it. If what I wrote here is right, and if one side of this expression is true, it will return true. Let's check it just together. 8 is bigger than 6, so this side is definitely true. But this side, 3 is not bigger than 6, so this side should return false. And since we have true and false, true on one side, and as we said, an OR, we need one side to be true to get a result of true. So this should return true because we have this side as true. Let's just check it out. Console.writeLine example OR. Let's run it. Again, I did this mistake, so just let me make it a little more clear so you guys can understand. Console.writeLine, let's say or operator. This. Now let's check them again. And yes, it does return true because here we have true, false, so basically it will return true. Now let's just change it and make this also false, right? So let's just change this to 6 is bigger than 8, false, false on both sides. It should return false because we don't have any true between them. And as you can see, it does return false. I hope this is nice and clear. Next, we're gonna look at not operator, and again I'll make a comment, not, which is shown as this. So for this one, no matter what is the logical value, it evaluates to its opposite. So basically, if it's true, it will return false. If it's false, it will return true. Let's also look at the example for this one. It's pretty simple to understand, but I'll just do the example because I did for the last ones too. Let's say example not. Again, we do use numbers. Actually, we don't need this first one. Let's just say 1 is less than 3, right? 1 is less than 3. Right now, let me just keep it like that. Now I still haven't used this, right? So I just want to show you this. If we print this on the console, it will return true. To make sure of that, let's actually see it. I'll also write here, not operator. Now let's check it. So right now it is true because we actually have a number 1 is less than 3. Now to use not operator, as we said, we just use this, and this should return us false because we said no matter whatever it is here, using not operator, it will give us the opposite. So let me check. Yeah, we got true here. So next you should get false when I run this code again, and we do get false. This is it for the logical operators. I think it's pretty simple to understand, especially with the examples right here. I don't think it's a big deal, but I will still leave a link to the documentation in the description just in case you guys still have question. You can also write it in the comment down below. I'll try my best to answer if there is any question. This is what I'll just cover in this video, in this part 3.1. In the next part 3.2, I will talk about loops like if statement, else statement, switch, and more. It is one of the most important topics, but to be able to work easily, it is also important to be comfortable with working with boolean expression. So I do recommend to learn completely and then move to part 3.2. Go through examples, try to play around with it, change the numbers, even use I don't know, strings if it's possible for you. Make challenges for yourself, and then move to the 3.2 because it is important to know these before going through loops and all that. Anyways, thanks for watching. If this video was useful for you, make sure you give it a like, and also make sure to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any videos in the future. Thanks for watching.